One kind of percentage problem that I still haven't talked about is tips, but tips works exactly like taxes do. All right, so I'm going to do this example here that actually includes both, so you can see it's essentially the same thing. You're just going to increase the total by the amount of tip that you give. So if you spend $80 on a restaurant bill and then you have to spend 15% tax on that, how much do you have to pay, right? So this is the first one that I'm actually doing from scratch too, because it wasn't part of my original plan. So you can take advantage of seeing me doing it without having the answers posted on the board. So the original was $80, right? I now know that because it's what I start with. So that's what's paired up with my 100%. Now, I know it's an increase problem because it's a tax problem. So I'm going to set up a diagram as if I'm increasing this. Now, I know that the increase is about 15%. So with that, I can figure out what my tax is and add it to my original of 80 to figure out my final bill. When I'm trying to do this as an is-of problem, I start by putting 100 on the bottom right. I always start the same way. And then I do, well, I'm doing 15%. So the 15 goes where the percentage goes. Then I put my whole on the bottom here, 80. And then I try to find what is my part, which is that tax that I have to pay. Next, I have to cross multiply. So I do 100 times x, which gives me 100x. And that equals 15 times 80. And you can kind of see why I write ahead of time, because my handwriting kind of sucks, especially on the computer. So 15 times 80. And that's going to be the same thing as 800 plus 400. So 1200. And then I have to divide both sides by 100 because that's what's next to my x. So if I divide both sides by 100, I can get my answer, which is 1200 divided by 100, or just 12. So it seems like I have to pay $12 in taxes. So that means, what is my total bill? Well, that's 80 plus that's $12. So I have to pay $92 in tax. Then I would decide to give a 20% tip. Now what? Well, now it's a new problem. I start with those 92. By the way, a lot of people give tip off the original value, the 80. I like to give tip out of the actual post-tax value because waiters make a living this way, so it's a more generous way to do it. You decide which way you want to do it. A lot of people calculate it off the original bill. I calculate it after the post-tax value. All right, so let's say I start with 92, and I want to give a 20% tip. As you can see, it's exactly the same as taxes. I'm trying to figure out what that tip is, and I have to add that to my original to figure out the total value I'm going to spend. All right, so you do the same kind of setup as you did before. You start with the 100 down here in the bottom, and you put the percentage that you're going to use this time is 20%. And then you put the whole here, which is 92. And then the tax that you're looking for, tip you're looking for, is X. So you have to cross multiply, right? And so when you do that, you get 100x equals 20 times 92, which gives you 1840 if you put that in a calculator. And then when you have to divide both sides by 100 because that's what's next to my x. And then the hundreds will cancel out, and my answer is going to be 1840 divided by 100, which is just 1840. Actually, 1840, not 1,840. And so my tip is going to be $18.40. But I'm not done yet because I have to add that to my original to figure out what my total is. So if you put that in the calculator, if you need to, and you do 92 plus 1840, you're going to get $110.40 is what you spent. Which is why if you go to the restaurant with a $100 bill and spend $80, you're not going to be able to give enough tip. So remember to always remember to have enough money left for the waiter when you're deciding what to spend in a restaurant. So that's an example of using tip. And we can still do another example here. This time I'm telling you that I gave a $30 tip on a $300 bill, and I want to know what percentage was the tip that I gave. Tip is an increase, so then you have to set up the diagram like this. So I'm starting from 300, and that is equivalent to 100% of my bill. Now I pay a tip that's $30. So they want to know what is the percentage that I have to pay. So this is what I'm looking for right here. All right, so then I set up an is-of diagram. Setup, $100 always goes on the right. And then I have the percentages, what I'm looking for. So I put an X for that. The original is 300. I put it down here. And then I know that my tip is 30. Okay, so then I just cross multiply. 30 times 100 makes 3,000. And 300 times X makes 300X. And so now I have to divide both sides by 300 because that's what's next to my X. And so my answer is going to be 3,000 divided by 300, which is just 10. But because I'm looking for a percentage, I have to put a percent sign after that. So 10%, because 10 is not the same thing as 10%. All right, so I did some examples for a tip for you guys on this video.